Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to round three of the Racing Gaming League season. The RGL season is back for another instalment here at the German Grand Prix at the Hockenheim Ring. I've done that in the wrong order, but joining us in the commentary box once again for another round of this fantastic season is Ollie. And Ollie, this is a great test for the drivers, this Hockenheim Ring, and a great circuit with always great racing around here, as we saw in the 2019 German Grand Prix. You can always throw up a fair few surprises.
Yeah, it can. I did a couple of league race streams for this last weekend, and well, it certainly threw up a cracker. Actually, I believe it rained in one of the races towards the end of the race, and well, that threw up absolutely amazing end to the race, and it actually went in quali as well. Obviously, isn't doing at the moment, so we're going to have a dry qualifying, it would seem, and well, I'll try and find out if I'll get what the weather's going to be like for the race.
Absolutely, that'll be interesting to see what the weather will do in this particular on this particular racetrack. It's not easy in terms of normal dry strategies. I don't believe. I don't think it's as straightforward as other rounds, let's say, of this series. But let's go quickly on board with somebody who's beginning a lap. That man is Strees in the Williams as he comes down towards turn one. This is a very difficult first corner. Don't want to take too much inside curve. Can't really afford to take too much inside or outside curve there either. Into turn two. Difficult on the brakes as well. That is a DRS zone between turn one and two officially now as they make the long run up towards, this is technically called parabolic, I believe it or not.
Yeah.
This flat out section as they then dive on the brake pedal once again towards turn six. One of the easy place to make an overtake is that particular corner, and plenty will be doing so in the race as well. Decides to keep a tight line through there, doesn't try to narrow or straighten his exit as he barrels his way down towards the Mercedes-Benz grandstand, take a fair bit of inside curve on that approach, and then it's just a bit of argy-bargy, a bit of sideways action from the Williams as he heads down and backs out of his lap. I think he backs out of his lap, at least, yeah, he does. As they come towards the Sachs curve. But yeah, good rendition of the first couple of sectors of this lap. It is challenging though as you head into this final sector, isn't it? You've got to get the balance between having a lot of downforce for the final sector and not a lot of downforce through the fast bits of the first and second sector.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, like mentioned, there's a good few straights, but there's also a very tricky and very aero. What's the word? Aero advantage, could you say? Last sector.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of tight and twisty corners. Sorry, technical process. That's what I was looking for. Couldn't get the words out. And but yeah, so Hawks has gone to the top of the timesheets then, and well, he's at a 12.1 so far, with KJ Gamer behind him 6/10 away. So the driver's going to be setting their laps. We've got a force in the coming around the final corner. That is VSR all-rounder. He's going to presumably jump up to the top of the timesheets, and well, it was an invalidated 13.5. So that would have put him third place ahead of Cyril Rosberg there in a Renault. As he comes towards turn one, getting a nice exit, short shifting on the traction now to come around this turn. Well, it's turn 4 of Parabolica, as you mentioned, obviously not to be confused with the real Parabolica at Monza, the final corner there. He heads towards the turn 5 hairpin, then taking it in first gear for the, well, let's be honest, extra rotation. As he heads towards turns 6 and 7 for the Mercedes grandstand. Heavy braking zone here, braking it just after the 50-metre board, so it's very heavy but very, very quick indeed. Comes through turns 8 and 9, heads towards the fast right-hander of turn 10 before into the stadium section of turn 11, and he has actually invalidated and backed off again, so it's not looking great for all-round at the moment, is it, James?
Absolutely not, and you just want to get that banker lap in, is always the case in qualifying. There's always the talking point, but especially around a circuit like this, because it's so easy to track extend around here. There's so many horrible corners. Turn 1 is possibly the worst of the lot, to be honest. It's just a horrible corner. If you don't nail it, you've got to nail it. But luckily for these guys, these hard runs that they're doing on the hard compound tyre aren't really going to be too much of a representation of what we should see in this qualifying session. You'd expect they'd all qualify on the yellow wall medium tyre for this one, just because of the race strategy.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, they'll probably be doing the medium to hard strategy. The softs tend to wear out quite quickly around here, don't they? So obviously you don't really want to be qualifying on them. The only time you'd really use them would be if you were perhaps doing a full qualifying like a few leagues do, and well, you'd use them in Q1 and Q3, wouldn't you? And at that point you'd be seen possibly into the tens around here. But yeah, so all the drivers on the hard compound tyres at the moment, just setting the first tyres and then setting the first times, and then we'll see the times really start to shake up towards the end of the session when the drivers are on the medium compound.
Absolutely, it's also just an opportunity for these guys to get an eye on the track on the hard compound tyre. When they do eventually switch over in the race to the hard compound tyre, they'll be looking at that as an opportunity now in qualifying, just to test the waters, see what this hard compound is like in terms of grip, how much they're able to just throw the car into any specific corners and really just get a feel for the tyre. Easier said than done, of course, and do all that practice, but until you get into the actual race session, you'll never really know what the tyres are going to be feel like underneath you, as it were. But it is Hawks, as I said, on top, ahead of Strees now, who's just slotted himself into second place. KJ Gamer is third, Adam Lee is fourth. Just Send It is in 5th, T10 Shadow is 6th. Then we're looking at the less representative times of Rosberg, Langman, Rocks down there in 9th, Crescito, definitely not on a representative time either. He's 6.3 seconds away, he's in 10th place. And then the remaining 5 drivers have failed to set a time thus far, but we've got plenty of time, just over 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, we have just on board with Its Effort then. Coming through the fast turn 1, nailing it in fact, in the 7th gear, flies towards turn 2 then, just braking before the curb starts on the left hand side as he comes through turn 3 here, opens the DRS through turn 4 as he heads towards the sharp and brisk hairpin of turn 5 under the Rolex sign, looking for the 100 metre board on the left hand side, brakes just after that, probably about 10 metres or so, gets the first gear there for the apex of the corner, accelerated 4th gear, bit of a squirm on the exit for the Ferrari driver, but it shouldn't have cost him too much in lap time. Turn 7 he goes in with the, well, pretty much flat out corner of turn 8, and then slightly tricky right-hander there of turn 9. You need to be careful to not get the traction down too much, and well, he's actually invalidated by running too far wide. It's quite a tricky corner, his turn 9, the right-hander, before the fast of turn 10, because you can get quite a lot of oversteer on the exit. Obviously, we saw in the real-life 2019 edition of the Grand Prix, Sergio Perez crashing on the first lap because of that.
Of course, yeah, and it was the major aquaplane, and I should imagine it cost him that on that day. But yeah, nonetheless, it's a difficult traction zone through there. But it is starting to sort of ease its way in this qualifying session now, so really gives us an opportunity to just sort of delve into the championship standings, as it were, and having a look at them. It is currently, I believe, it's Hawks who leads the championship at the moment, is it not? I've gone able here because I haven't got the standings in front of me. Yeah, he is leading the championship, so 43 points to all-rounders 33. Yeah, I'm correct. Yeah, it's a 10 points gap between those two in the championship. So still very much all to play for. Rosberg in behind there as well in third. He's 30 points in the championship. So although we're only 2 rounds down, we're going into the third round of this season. It's already starting to sort of mount itself as who we're looking at as a potential championship protagonists, I suppose, as well. And there's a few guys in there that would be slightly disappointed with perhaps what they've managed to achieve thus far this season. I'm looking at people maybe like KJ, thinking that he could have potentially pushed on a little bit more, and others of the sort as well. I mean, Langman's had a pretty good start to the season, so he'll be looking to keep that up as well. But some drivers, like even T10 Shadow, we've seen some good performances from him over the last couple of weeks, especially in Brazil. He did actually have pretty good pace that day. Just was really marred out by the strategy and the changeable conditions. So it'll be interesting to see just how he is able to hit in the fight of this championship, if he's able to score some podiums. That'll be interesting to see if he can do that. But at the moment, it is, as I say, Hawks leading the championship from all-rounder, and it is Hawks topping the timesheets here at Hockenheim.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, all-rounder will have something to say about that. I am sure of it, as he's just coming into the stadium section of turn 7 there. So currently watching his teammate Adam Lee. He's down the medium compound tyres, and he's going to be the first person to set a time, or one of the first people to set a time on that compound tyres. There's quite a few drivers on and out lap to go and set their first time on the Williams, and it's a bit early really to be doing so. Obviously there's 6 minutes left in the session, so they have actually got time to come back in for another run. Adam Lee then coming through the fast medium speed left-hander of turn 11 through the final couple of corners. He goes then, exits the final corner, opens the DRS, comes across the line. Can he improve on 8th place? He can improve on his time to a 12.5, but it's not going to be enough for a position gain at the moment. The next person to set a time, I believe, is going to be one of the Williams, and they're just coming into the final sector now.
Absolutely, so you've got Rocks just behind his teammate Stree, so it's Stree's in the one of the Williams going through the Sachs curve, and he is also, looks like he's on an outlap. Yeah, he's on an outlap, so he's not actually on a time yet, is Stree, so it looks like Rocks maybe, no, he's coming into the pits as well. So a few medium runners coming out early doors here. I'm not even sure Adam's was Adam Lee actually on a lap for the last occasion, because it didn't sort of pick up that he was.
Yeah, he
on
was.
A lap
He improved by the track map didn't go red. Wow, Hawks flying in there with a 11.2, and the track map didn't go red, and that usually happens when they do invalidate. And so Stree's getting a bit of a cheeky slipstream from Crescito actually. Obviously Strees and Crescito both in Team Shazoo, so they'll have planned that, of course. So just watching Strees. I'm just trying to find a track list actually, because I haven't actually got them there.
Strees is actually there. Okay, so he's down in 8th place. He got that slipstream off of one of his teammates, I suppose you'd call it. He's actually gone purple in the middle sector. Hawks is currently 8 tenths faster than anybody else on this racetrack at the moment. He's absolutely flying in terms of qualifying. He's definitely on provisional pole for the time being as well, as Strees comes now around the final corner. Just so much understeer in that Williams as he heads up towards the line. Can he improve? He can improve. But look at that, he's still half a second away from the pole time. That is mighty from Hawks in the Haas. Really, really impressive stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very good lap time.
I never usually like to mention other leagues during other other sort of league commentaries, but he was very quick in the TSL Tier 1 race round here that happened just a couple of weeks ago, and he's definitely showing his pace again, isn't he? Because one of the championship rivals from TSL, KJ Gamer, he's 8 tenths off him.
It's miles away.
Yeah.
Whether KJ made a mistake or whatever, because he is coming around the final corner now as KJ, so whether he's on a lap, I don't think he is. He
started.
Validated. Starting. Okay, so the Toro Rosso is on the lap then. It'll be interesting to see what he can do. Hawks is pretty confident this time, so confident he's not going to take any further part in it as they head down towards turn 2. Turn 3 follows as well, or turn 4, however you want to look at it. Now through Parabolica on the run up towards the hairpin. Strees, it's Lyon who goes third, fastest then in the McLaren. That's probably unexpected. Crescito moves himself into second place. It was all kicking off, and I think KJ's gone a fair bit deep into the hairpin there. I'm not sure if that was a mistake or just got away from him.
Yeah, definitely.
As he heads now towards the Mercedes-Benz grandstand. It's not looking like a particularly impressive effort so far from him. He's I say that, he goes purple in the middle sector. Let's see what he can do then as he heads towards the final sector. This could be a big moment in qualifying. A lot of people seem to be posting pretty fast times in the second sector. What does that suggest about the setup that Hawks has got on that Haas? Because there has been a few cars who I've noticed are a lot faster in the second sector.
KJ's invalidated again. Sorry to interrupt you there. he's not happy at all.
Definitely saw that. Absolutely not. And all-rounder then will be one of the final ones to get a lap in on his medium tyres. He's not on a lap, yes, I don't think. Yes, he is on a lap in the racing point. So he's the closest man to Hawks in the championship, just 10 points behind him in the championship. So any advantage gained here could be made in qualifying. This very difficult final couple of corners. Try not to dip the wheel into the drag strip on the left-hand side, and then the run up towards the line. All-rounder goes second fastest, but I look at the margin, 0.04 of a second between himself and Hawk. Just really, really tight stuff between those two. And it's not enough on this occasion for the German, who may opt to go again if he backs out of this particular run.
Yeah, of course, there's obviously normally 40 to go in the session, or so we think. I do understand there's a bit of a glitch with the game where it can mean that, well, our time that we've got, the drivers actually have a couple of minutes on top of that. PWR Dan then, jumping up into 5th place, so a very respectful time from himself, not Crescito. Shadow going to be the next person to set a time. Not invalidating the final corner like he just did with the last lap. Jumps up into 2nd place, and that'll be good enough for him for now. JJ Rocks comes across the line, and well, he's just going to start a lap, and well, I believe he started one just a few moments ago, but obviously he has, I presume, invalidated that time. All-rounder, I believe he is actually going again, yeah. So he's going to come across the line to start a lap, because obviously that time was a 1 minute 14 and not representative at all. Crescito comes across the line, jumps up into 3rd place. Nice lap time from him. Rosberg up into P7, then Toro Rosso across the line. That's Langman 17 and jumps up into 10th. It's Effort V2 in the Ferrari into 8th place. And then we've got, I believe, that could be a Mercedes, possibly PWR down.
Could be, he's just backed out of his run, but all-rounder is on a lap, the German, looking for home redemption here at the German Grand Prix, the German driver. Let's see what he's able to do as he heads down towards the Mercedes-Benz Grandstand once again. This is really his opportunity, if he can just find a couple of hundredths of a second to put him on pole position for this German Grand Prix. Let's see what he's able to do. Strees finishes his session, he's finished in 4th place, as the best he can hope for so far. But look how close this qualifying session has become already here towards the end of it. And let's see what all-rounder can do as he exits the final couple of corners, just trying not to dip a wheel into the drag strip. Across the line he comes now. All-rounder still not on pole, misses out by 0.02 of a second. Really, really tight margins there for all-rounder, and he can't take pole position here at the German Grand Prix. Langman stays in P12, does improve on his time. I think Lion is on a lap, and he is interesting. I think he is on a set of soft compound of tyres. He's fastest through the middle sector is Grand Prix Lion. The Dutchman, definitely, we should be on pole really on that set of tyres. Let's see what he can actually do in the papaya orange. The Dutchman flies around the final couple of corners. Let's see what he can do on his time. I think he's going to be very lucky if he's not invalidated there. And he comes across the line now. Does the Dutchman, can he put it on pole? Of course he has. Pole position for Grand Prix Line. He is on pole for the German Grand Prix. Takes it by 0.07 of a second in the end. But he has done it on the soft compound tyre, mind. But he will start on pole position. One of RGL's OGs, one of the old guard is Grand Prix Line. He's been around the block of this league for goodness knows how long. And he has got his redemption now with a pole position in Germany.
Yeah, he has. And, well, James, if you like to give us a rundown of the session, because, well, I could quite do with a drink.
Absolutely, yeah, so it is, as we notice, Lion is on pole position ahead of Hawks in 2nd place. The Haas just being pipped in the end on the soft compound run of Lion. Rounder starts from 3rd ahead of Crescito in 4th place. Stree starts from 5th, Shadow in 6th, Roxwell starts from 7th. Very close top 10 in the end, only half a second between everyone inside the top 10. Dan starts from 8th and Rosberg will be disappointed with 9th. There's Effort in 10th, KJ 11th, Langman 12th, Adam Lee, Just Send It, and Zeus at the back of the grid. So we're all gearing up ready then for the German Grand Prix, round 3 of the season. Let's see what will happen here. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. With Lion starting on an unfavoured soft compound tyre, it will be interesting to see if he's able to hold on to it. Not hold on to his lead. He should be quick the first few laps of this Grand Prix, but whether he'll be able to just decide the strategy, as it were, because it means he's going to be going on a very aggressive strategy and potentially looking maybe a 2-stop strategy. I don't think that's completely out of the realms of possibility if you're starting on the softs. They don't last very long. I wouldn't be surprised if he could come into the pits well before lap 10. They do not seem like that sort of race-wear tyre as they get away on the formation lap. So let's take a look at who is on what tyre as they start the race. So of course everyone's on the top 10, as is always reckoned, will start on the tyre they qualified on. So in this case, Lion, the only man on the soft tyres, starts on pole, and then everyone else inside the top 10 all on the medium compound. Then we have a bit of variation. The 2 Toro Rossos opting for the hard compound tyre, not opting to go for the best race tyre of the lot, the mediums, going for the hard compound tyre. Adam Lee, Just Send It, Zeus and Boosler starts from the back. They're all going to start on the mediums, so it'll be interesting to see how far they're able to go in this Grand Prix. As they all start to fire their way through then, this formation lap. Difficult circuit, this one. It'll be interesting to see what the weather does. It doesn't look like there's going to be much rain, to be honest. Doesn't look that sort of way. We're in for a pretty good Grand Prix here. Good evening's worth of racing. 34 laps ahead of these guys, and I'm sure it will be lights to flag for somebody. Let's see how it all plays out. DRS can be a big effect around here. ERS saving, something that we will bring up later on in the Grand Prix, but it is somewhere, this track in particular, where you can save it on certain parts of the racetrack, the final sector being that one. But these drivers then are finding up onto the grid for round 3 of the RGL season, and this is somewhat of a shock. No one really expected Lion to come out all the blocks and go on to pole position, but he will be happy with himself that he put himself in that position on the soft compound tyres, we've got to remember, so he will be at a disadvantage over the course of this race. He'll be completely out of sync unless there's a safety car, in which case he may find himself in a very nice position indeed, the Dutchman. From pole, on the right hand side, 5 lights ahead of the drivers. It's lights out and away we go. Looks like a pretty good launch from Lion off pole position. He's streaking towards turn 1. All round has had a shocking start. One of the Williams up the inside into the first corner. It's Strees and he's sideways. My goodness me, there's contact, more contact as KJ Gamers out of the Grand Prix. So is the Williams. So is the Racing Point, unless they can keep going, of course. And it doesn't look like they've kept that way. Lion leads though as the safety car's being deployed.
Yeah, massive crash on the first corner of the first lap there, James. I just came back right at the right moment. Strees without a front wing, and well, quite a few big names been caught up in that, along with well, KJ Gamer, and well, I think it's safe to say his luck recently hasn't been the best, because well, he was caught up in a massive first lap accident at the top of Erosion TSRL last night.
Absolutely right, and it was a bit of a big incident. There was 3 guys going into one corner. It was never going to work into turn 1 at Hockenheim, and on this occasion it's KJ who misses out. Adam Lee's got damage, Strees has got damage, so it'll be interesting to see obviously who decides to come in. Lion might even come into the pits on the opening lap here, just because he can get rid of that set of soft tyres. This would be the perfect chance for him to completely change his strategy up.
Yeah, I'm not sure what tyres he could go on to. Obviously, he'll be right at the back of the grid, bar possibly a couple of positions. So Adam Lee and Streets have got front wing damage, but he doesn't pit. So obviously, the more laps we have behind the safety car, the more laps he can go further into this race. And well, if he can pull off the soft to medium strategy, that's an absolute masterstroke. Could
well be. It'll be a lot of tyre savings, to be fair, but
yeah,
he could try it. Obviously, as you say, yeah, it will prolong his stint on the softs because he's not using those softs now in the race really for the first few laps of this Grand Prix at least. So his window becomes later, but it becomes later for everybody. The crucial thing here then is just when he is able to pit, and if he is he able to do a one-stop in this Grand Prix from softs to hards or softs to mediums? That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely, and well, we'll have to see what comes in this race, and well, Preston Hughes got a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I'm not sure what's happened. Possibly for speeding on the virtual safety car, I'm not too sure.
Potentially. Let's give you a rundown of the order then, whilst we've got everyone in a certain position, because there were a few incidences on that opening lap, or the one big incident on the opening lap anyway. So it is Lion who leads the German Grand Prix ahead of Hawks. All-rounder is in third. Crescito is in fourth. It's Shadow in fifth. Rox is now up into sixth place. Dan is seventh. Langman has made progress on the opening lap. He is eighth, and the only Toro Rosso remaining in the grid now. He started 12th, so he's gone up a fair few positions on the opening lap. Just Sender is 9th. Zeus is just inside the top 10. He has got that penalty though. Boosler is in 11th. Rosberg has lost out on the start. I'm not sure what actually happened to Rosberg, but he's lost ground on the opening lap of this German Grand Prix.
Yeah, he has, and well, he started from the back in Brazil. Was that the pre-season race?
No, round one.
Round one. What was the pre-season race? Oh, it was Mexico.
Mexico.
I can't remember. Well, wow, it's over a month ago now, isn't it? On round 3.
Yes.
Wow.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, coming back to the story, Cyril Rosberg, he started from pretty much plumb last in the season opener in Brazil, and well, look where that got him. He managed to win the race, so it's not all hope is lost just yet.
Well, absolutely, he can definitely spring a surprise from where he is in 12th place. We know his credibility, we know his race pace, and we know that he can fight cars when needed, and he will look to do that in this particular Grand Prix because he's got a fair few cars to pass to even consider winning this Grand Prix at very least. It'll be interesting to see when the safety car does peel off into the pit lane, and when Lion decides to get racing again. The Dutchman, the last German Grand Prix was won by the Dutchman of Max Verstappen. Let's see what Lion can do in this particular series of events, as the safety car is in this lap. So the light has gone off on the top of the great Mercedes car that they use, the SLS I believe it is they use, the safety car. Let's see what
GTR,
Lion would do. Maybe the GTR now, definitely. Yeah, probably
definitely
is. But anyway,
lost the SLS at some point.
Yeah, let's see then what Lion's able to do. He's backing the pack up nicely as they come through the final couple of corners. It's his prerogative as to when they go racing again. And he has decided to bump the final corner and go now. And they're racing again in Germany. And it looks not an amazing restart from him, to be completely honest. It does look like he's going to be under some severe pressure from the championship leader in behind. This will be interesting as he head down towards turn number 2, and Hawk's getting very low on the brakes again. Let's see what All-Rounder can do something in behind as well, because he's right on the back then of his championship rivals. They head up towards the hairpin. So can Hawks defend from his arch nemesis as they head towards the hairpin? Hawks against All-Rounder, and it doesn't look like on this occasion All-Rounder's going to get the jump on him, but there is a Red Bull going side by side. It's an Alfa Romeo on the inside, and there's contact. Who's that coming flying through there?
Shadow.
Yeah, there's a massive... There's a Mercedes who's now moved himself into fourth. That's Dan who's moved himself into fourth place.
JJ Rock's in third.
Racing point loose. Yeah, what's gone on there? All-Rounder's out, hasn't he? What's gone on with All-Rounder? He's dropped off like a stone then from third place. He's making his way back past Crescito as they're on the inside as they come down towards the infield section. That's close. He's got through, and the Red Bull's into the gravel nearly, into the Kitsilita nearly. He got himself, but how's that all come about? The Williams is into third place.
I think Shadow hit the back of All-Rounder into the hairpin, and the three of them, I think, Hawks, All-Rounder, and somebody else, possibly Shadow, they all three of them went wide, Hawks managed to get away. A couple of other drivers involved, possibly Crucito, and just allows JJ Rocks to just sweep through and claim the positions, and well, say thank you very much. Allrounder, luckily though, hasn't got damage from that. Obviously, Shadow absolutely launched himself into the side pod of Allrounder, so he lost most of his front wing. Obviously, he was holding up most of the field behind him for the rest of the lap. Well, on board with Allrounder, obviously, he's lost quite a lot of time from that. And if he wants to try and get back up and challenge for this race win, he's got Dan, JJ Rocks and Hawks really to contend with, hasn't he? We've got another virtual safety car as It's Effort and Strees have had quite a big coming together. And apologies for not catching that on camera, but they're both out, and you look on the minimap, they're both off the track. And yeah, you can see on the you could just about see on the left hand side there, both in the wall. So I'm not actually quite sure what's happened there.
Absolutely right. VSC's deployed anyway, so line gets another bit of breathing space. Or just saw a car flying off. Anyway, the VSC's now come in or come out or whatever, and now we're underway again, and Hawks is under pressure from Rocks behind. Look at this charge from the Williams. He's all over the back of the Haas, and the Haas is all over the back of the McLaren. As they head down towards the hairpin once again, DRS wide open, and all these guys all around has got back past Dan. Grumpy line defends the inside line. Hawks has got to move again on the outside and takes the McLaren, but can Rocks following through as well. Looks like he might just do it in the Williams. He has done, and he's moved himself into second place. Tremendous drive from him.
Brilliant move from the Williams there, and well, he's managed to get himself a second place in this race. And obviously, that is a legit second place. It's not none of this strategy malarkey. He is legitimately in second place. If he can hold on to that, then fair enough, and that is a bloody good drive.
Absolutely, it's a mind-boggling performance so far. Look at Rosberg has made positions up as well on the restart. He's in 7th place now. He was 12th, or even worse than that, I think.
Yeah,
when the first safety car came out, so he's now right in contention. It's potentially even looking at a podium at this Grand Prix. But it's Hawks who leads from Rocks, and Lyons now dropped to 3rd, ahead of Allrounder in 4th place, and Dan's just behind in 5th as well. So the top 5 very much in touching distance of each other.
Yeah, on board with Allrounder then as he exits. Whoa, he's got a bit of a slide on. That's going to open the door for Dan to get back through. Is it? I don't know. Obviously, Allrounder got through on Dan. This time last lap, he's not going to be able to make a move into this hairpin, but that's definitely allowed him to close the gap. Allrounder, massive slide there out of turn 3, or turn 4, whichever way you look at it, because there is a slight, I think it's a slight double apex of turn 2. I'm not too sure, because I was having a look at a couple of track maps. Some were saying it was turn 2 and 3, some were saying just turn 2. It depends on personal preference, really.
Absolutely right. Let's see then how the rest of this lap unfolds. Let's see when Line actually comes in, because if he's not losing pace to these guys around him, he's sort of in the middle. He's in the middle game here, so he needs to think about really what's going to gain him time in this Grand Prix. We'll be pitting early and getting those softs off, and he's not going to do that just yet. Rock stays in behind Hawks as well, so there's a train in behind as well. Rounders looking tasty, right up behind the Dutchman as they head down towards turn 1 and 2 once again. There's Mercedes off down at the hairpin, and here goes a rounder on the inside of Lyon into turn 2 and gets the move done on him, but the Mercedes is coming on the outside. They're nearly 3 abreast of Lyon, holding the middle ground here. Who's got the higher ground as they head towards the hairpin? Looks like the Mercedes has got him on the outside. He's got 1. Can he get 2 on the run down to turn 6? Looks like he might just do it. There's McLaren in the middle of them as they head down towards there, and the Mercedes in home soil takes his 3rd place, and what a tremendous move that is.
Yeah, of course, amazing racing between all 3 of them, and nice to see the respect between the drivers, but crucially it's allowed the gap between JJ Rocks and PWR Dan to open up to 2 seconds, and this is not great for Allrounder's race. And obviously JJ Rocks is right behind Hawks, and well, if Allrounder wants to even challenge for this race, he's got to catch up to JJ Rocks, battle him and potentially, and overtake him, and then he's got to catch up to Hawks and overtake him as well. But obviously it's not all over, because we're not forgetting penalties.
Absolutely. Dan running a bit deep into the Sachs curve, nearly sensed an opportunity there, was all rounder, couldn't quite do it there, and as a pit stop has been made, it is the grumpier line in the McLarens. He's decided probably wisely to get off that set of soft compound tyres and goes out onto a set of hards.
Obviously, I wouldn't have thought we've seen the last of the safety cars in this race, as all-rounder getting back past PWR Dan. They're not putting up too much of a fight, and well, this is what they need to do, really, isn't it? Because they're kind of on the same pace, I think you could say, at the moment. Obviously, we're waiting to see if all-rounder manages to bridge a gap, because he's got quite a nice drive off of that turn 5 hairpin. So yeah, it's heading towards the turn 7 left-hander of the Mercedes grandstand. Obviously, if PWR Dan and all-rounder are on the same pace, then it will probably be beneficial for them to just DRS each other on the straights, not battle in the corners, and that way, catch up to the two BMG drivers leading this race, and that way they can get back in this fight for the win.
Absolutely, Rox is not letting Hawks go here either. He's always trying to stay within that DRS, and the rounder cements his pace for the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. And a big statement from him as well in this one, because he needs to now get onto the back of these two race leaders of Hawks, and as you say, Hawks and JJ Rox as well. Let's see what, if anything, the Williams can do against the Haas, who's now leading the race. The DRS is wide open, but it's not going to play too much effect because the gap is simply too large. He'll be able to close over the braking zones and maybe just hassle and harry him a little bit more, but he won't be able to do much more than that. That's the annoying thing about the DRS. And in any Formula 1 situation, is if you've got DRS, you're within a second, doesn't matter, because if you're within a second, are you going to be able to get a move done on some straights like the one we've got here at Hockenheim? Probably not. So you need to be right up behind someone, maybe looking at about 6, maybe half a second between you and the car in front, if you really want to make a DRS move work around you.
Yeah, something to point out, obviously, all-rounder, he's ex-F1 esports driver, isn't he? So he's definitely showing the pace he has, obviously, 2017 I believe it was, so it's a good couple of years ago now. But he's definitely not lost any of his talent. We all know he's an amazingly quick driver, and well, he's starting to catch up to JJ Rox, who has crucially lost that 1 second DRS gap to Hawks in front of him. So once all-rounder catches up and gets within that 1 second, BMG JJ Rox is going to be defenceless, although he does have slightly more ERS than all-rounder, and that is something I bang on about every single race I commentate on. So if you haven't got the ERS, you may as well just pull over and let everybody through, because as much as you can have all the pace in the world, if somebody can stick behind you with using their ERS properly, DRS in the slipstream, they're going to be so much quicker than you, even if you have more raw pace. It's a crucial part of the strategy.
So you've got to remember that DRS is probably most likely going to be used in the high-speed sections, the first and second sector really of the lap, but also they'll be looking at saving it right here in the Haas sector, because there's no real need for ERS through there because it's so slow.
You can pretty much turn it off in the last sector, as JJ Rox is pitting. So he's had enough after only 11 laps in this race. He's had those tyres on for 11 laps, as I said. I don't know if he started outside the top 10, because it's only registering 11 laps, isn't it? And really it should be saying 12, because they've done one in quali. So, at least one in quali, because I know all-rounder he did 2 flying laps in a row, didn't he? But he's got out the pit side by side with Bursting Juice, who is on the medium compound tyres, and he's fallen back in this race, having not made a pit stop yet. JJ Rox has rejoined in 7th place on the hard compound tyres. He's got completely fresh set of boots to propel him along this race course, and we'll see where he comes out after these pit stops have played their part, and who knows, we could see him come out in second, or we could see all-rounder and Dan, and I don't think Rosberg, but definitely all-rounder and Dan could potentially overcut him.
Potentially. There's obviously both sides of the fence we've got to look at here. If he can undercut him as well. And
Yeah, all rounders then.
that's something they've got to look at. And all rounder has pit, so this will be interesting, because if Rocks is able to hold his advantage against all rounder and Dan, that would suggest that potentially the undercut is faster than the overcut around here, and that will be interesting because of course Hawks is leading the Grand Prix, and when JJ Rocks came into the pits, he was only about a second behind the race leader, so he'll definitely make that time up with an undercut, 100%.
It's 1.4,
Yeah.
1.5, so he's gained about a tenth and a half as all-rounder, so he has slightly overcut him, but apart from that, the gap has stayed the same really. Obviously, all-rounder's now got a lap for newer tyres than JJ Rocks, but that's not going to really make much of a difference. If it was the difference between 89 and I don't know, not 93%, then well, it would make all the difference, because that could be the difference between being able to drive and in the wall. But the tyre percentage that they have on now, it's not really going to make much of a difference, is it?
No. Well, into the pits comes the race leader and the championship leader of Hawks, who's decided to bail off into the pits. Could be the first repeat winner of this season, I believe. And he comes in for the Haas team, and he will put a set of the hard compound tyres on the Haas, and let's see where Rocks can come out in relation to him. As Hawks exits the pits, this might be quite close actually, as they come through turn 1. Actually, it isn't at all. Hawks has managed to keep the lead by a sizable margin over.
He has gained on him though, as JJ Rocks. He's within a second now. It was 1.2 seconds or so, wasn't he? So he's gained about 4/10 here.
Yeah, and he's got DRS now wide open as well, so he's got to make these 2 laps count. He's got to make these laps that he was he's got a couple of laps in older tyres, but he's got to make the DRS advantage work for him now. He's got to reel in the Haas. This is his opportunity. This is the big opportunity he needs in this Grand Prix. He can't let the Haas bolt away, because once he does that, he hasn't got a chance of winning this Grand Prix anymore, because those tyres will just not last in the same advantage as Hawks' will. Let's see what he's able to do then on the next few laps of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching those 2 BMG drivers carefully, as the only people really to not have pit are Langman out in front, and Burston Juice there down in 8th place. Obviously they're on 13 lap old hard and medium tyres respectively, and Langman is going to play a bit of a role in this race, because although he could potentially hold these guys up, obviously or they're setting another fastest lap of the race after JJ Rocks, so obviously JJ showing that he has definitely got some pace here, and all round with all respect to Rocks, he's not catching up as much as I thought he would.
Absolutely, but it's look at the margins between all those guys. Really, the top 3, they're all like literally got the same margin between each other. There's nothing really in it in terms of race pace. Rosberg has made a move on the Grand Prix line. Actually, he's moved himself into 6th place. So he's a dark horse in this race, is Rosberg, and he's only just fitted the hard tyre, so he's got a couple of laps advantage on his set of hard tyres. If there's another safety car in this race, that will blow smoke out of the water, and it'll be interesting to see. Big slide on for Rosberg through there. Let's see what he's able to do as the remainder of the Grand Prix continues. Let's see as well, because Langman started on the hards, and now only him and KJ started on the hard compound tyre. So how long will Langman be able to go in this Grand Prix? We've not really had a significant race leader as such in this one. There's been a fair few different race leaders, and Langman is now leading this train of cars in behind him, and he's got every right to fight this position, but I understand that people in leagues don't particularly like that kind of thing. I don't personally have a problem with it, unless it's really like, okay, just get out of the way. But let's see if Hawks is going to dispose of the Season 2 champion as they head down towards the hairpin, but it gives him no space at all. Locks his wheels, does Hawks there. And to be honest, I was saying, yeah, a bit aggressive. I think it's a bit over the top. I don't think there was really any need for that level of aggression for that overtake. I don't think Langman was fighting it too hard at all, but I don't even know if he's lost a bit of wind because of that. It's really on the limit stuff.
Doesn't look like it from first glance, but obviously you can have that sort of light green, yellowy type damage, can't you? Where it doesn't really show that much. He's taking a lot of speed there into that turn 11, is it? Hairpin? Well, stadium section of the third sector, Langman. Not really taking the normal principle of slowing fast out. It's just sort of fast in, fast out. If that's his preferred driving style, then fair enough. But well, it's JJ Rox's turn now to have a go on Langman. He's a little bit further back. Is the Williams driver. Obviously, Langman's sitting there in modes 2 and 3. He's not got much ERS left compared to JJ Rox with 40%. He doesn't move to the inside, doesn't battle it, and well, JJ Rox getting past a lot cleaner. And I think that was that all-rounder in the background making a bit of contact with Langman. Yeah, I saw a bit of a slide from the Toro Rosso on the apex of turn 5, and yeah, so all-rounder's going to have to get past Langman quick, else JJ Rox is potentially going to be running away with second place a little bit, and it's going to be even longer before all-rounder manages to get past. But something I have to note that is JJ Rox, he has a 3-second penalty for corner cutting in this race, and I'm going to check Hawks and all-rounders penalties now. I don't think it's something they have. Yeah, there you go. Hawks with 1 warning there, and all-rounder, all-rounder has a penalty, and he's on 2 warnings. So yeah, although he got a warning on the first lap, however that was for a collision with Streets. So yeah, if all-rounder gets another warning, then he's got 6 seconds of penalties, and for him to win this race, he's going to have to finish 3 seconds ahead of JJ Rox, but 6 seconds ahead of Hawks. So that's going to be quite something. And well, you have to say, as it stands, Hawks is going to be first, JJ Rox is going to be second, and Allround is going to be third, as the order they are in now, even after penalties.
Yeah, absolutely. Slightly frustrating with the move, actually. Go back to the point of all-rounder. He went for a slight, maybe audacious move on Langman into the hairpin. It wasn't really on for him, to be completely honest, and I'm not sure whether it's just a momentary lapse of concentration. It just ran into the back of Langman. But there was in all honesty, there's been a fair bit of aggressive racing out there today.
Yeah, there has.
It's not been...
not really necessary, though, I've noticed.
Yeah,
it could have been easily avoidable.
Yeah, it definitely could be. There's a car off down at...
Oh, Langman.
Yeah, now how has he managed that? How has he managed to get off his all-rounder, gets himself a penalty? Langman
that's his second penalty,
away.
That's 6 seconds.
Yeah. Here we go. It's just not
that
the day
for all over now for Jonas.
Yeah. Shame.
Spin as well out of turn 9. That's not good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Rosberg is the next man to try and dispose of Langman. Would he go for the arch-bargy approach, the aggressive approach? They all try to cut each other off on the entry of the apex there. There's plenty of room on the inside. Okay, it gets tighter, but really with no lack of grip on that Toro Rosso, he's not going to fight back too hard. He can't, because he hasn't got the life in his tyres. He's on 18 lap hards compared to people around him who are on much fresher hard compound of tyre. So, interesting. When will Langman come into the pits? You'd feel pretty soon, I should imagine. I'm thinking within the next lap or so, maybe next couple of corners.
Well, how many laps did they do on the mediums? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at Hawks and use him as an example. So he did 13 laps on the mediums. So he could, yeah, so if Langman came in around lap 21, 22, so in a couple of laps time, that is sort of, yeah, so, yeah, I'd say that's doable to be able to get to the end of the race comfortably. And here goes all-rounder on JJ Rox, flying past there. He's not putting up a fight at all. And I think JJ Rox knows about all-rounders penalties. And well, I'm just going to check his warnings again. He's got another warning. So
it's not a great day in the office at all, is it, for all-rounder?
No, it's not.
In terms of penalties.
Yeah, obviously, it sounds like it could be ages away, but you know, you can get multiple warnings in a lap if you just, you know, have a lapse of concentration. You know, you have to be on point every single lap, because there's not many corners around here where you can get rounds with taking a bit of a lapse of concentration, because there's quite a lot of them where they've got AstroTurf on the inside or the outside, like we can see here on the inside and the outside of the final corner. And well, the first turn here, you'll see that they're taking a lot of entry curb, but the outside curb there, that is a corner where you see them getting quite a few warnings. And well, surprise, surprise, Allround has got another warning there as well. I've just had a look. So if he gets another warning, I'm banging on about it, and I apologise to the people watching. It might get a bit boring, but if Allrounder gets another warning, he's got 9 seconds, and at that rate, PWR Dan could be claiming Allrounder's podium position.
Every league racer or even racing driver will sit and tell you that the best way to get through a race, any race at all, is by rhythm. And you can only win a race by rhythm, and you can only do it by that sort of fashion. Unfortunately, the rhythm is not...
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, go on.
I find sometimes that by playing music slightly in the background so you can just hear it, and by taking it one corner at a time, because I find that if you look for the apex, and then I tend to look sort of where I'm pointing the car, so I'm not sort of looking down at the car, I'm looking ahead on the track, and I then start to get into that rhythm you said, and I'll notice sometimes that I can't remember going through a certain part of the track, and it's at those points where you notice it's starting to work, and you know, if you get that rhythm going, get the consistency, it's then when you start to get into the mood of the race, and you know, if you get through the first 5 laps, the race can go by with an absolute breeze, but obviously if you start to battle, then it can potentially break that rhythm, and obviously safety cars as well.
It's like a tunnel vision almost, and there was famously people said about Senna at Monaco in the late 80s, I think. He basically turned around and said, that's the first time I think he said he got scared in a racing car, because he got an out-of-body experience by just this pure rhythm that he was in, and the tunnel-like vision that he was finding himself in. Okay, these guys are not going to find themselves in that level of incidents, but let's see.
Which year was it? Was it 80... Oh god, what's the year of the model I've got? 88, I think, wasn't it? At Monaco, because he crashed at Portier. But that was because, I mean, he was driving ridiculously quick. And I mean ridiculously quick. It was, I think it was something like a second quicker. Yeah, it was a second quicker than Prost or something, a lap. It was a minute ahead of anyone else. And he was driving so quickly, the team asked him to slow down. But it was because they asked him to slow down, he came out of this rhythm that he built up, and he crashed at Portier. And because he'd broken his rhythm and sort of lost concentration because he was trying to just not drive as quickly, you know, he crashed and lost the race. So it can be quite crucial.
Absolutely. Here comes Ciro Rosberg, who's looking for a move on Dan in towards the hairpin. On this occasion, the Renault sits in behind the Mercedes-Benz and waits another few laps and maybe a few corners, but the Renault has definitely got some pace in this Grand Prix. There's no doubt about that. He's on a lap fresher tyres to the Mercedes of Dan, who's representing this Grand Prix. Had a pretty solid result with 4th place B for him. It's not quite JJ's efforts though. That is some effort in the Williams to be 3rd place. It's definitely I did not expect to see after the first couple of races, especially the first race, which I remember him taking part in. I wouldn't have ever said that he was going to be right up there fighting for podiums, no disrespect, but I didn't expect that to happen. So it's a really, really strong drive from the Williams, and let's see if he can keep it up. There's 10 laps to go on this one.
Yeah, obviously anything can happen. Just gonna have another look. Yeah, so JJ Rocks has got no other warnings. Allround hasn't got another warning since that Turn 1 excursion a couple of laps ago. Lang, the fastest lap, 14.1. Obviously he's on the mediums and 3 laps in on his stint. Rosberg getting up the inside then of PWR Dan into turn 5. The hairpin at the far end of the track. And well, except for leaving the session, but he's been retired for quite some time. A crash with between him and Strees, for those of you who are not wondering. Yeah, they had quite a hefty crash between that mini straight between turn 6 and 7. I would have thought they were going side by side through turn 6 and tangled, and well, that was how they ended up on the wall. Obviously, we don't know because we weren't on board, and well, anything we do say is speculating.
Absolutely, because we don't have the privilege of replay systems, which needs to be addressed. Let's see what Lion can do up behind. He's now behind Shadow, and Shadow has been on that set of hards for 19 laps. He surely won't go to the end. 20 laps now on that set of hards. You can't think he will go to. I can't even think that Lion will get to the end. This set of hard tyres. Unfortunately, this race hasn't worked out for either of them in many ways, and especially not for the pole man. Because maybe a few more safety cars for the pit, maybe under the safety car, he could have found himself in a really, really difficult Grand Prix, but as a result, he's not in that position. And Lion is now full attack mode on Shadow as they head down towards the hairpin. Easy pickings for the Dutchman, and himself moves himself into 6th place. And the Alfa Romeo will come back at him though. On the exit, side by side they'll go down towards the Mercedes-Benz grandstand. He's actually got back ahead of the McLaren, and for now at least, Shadow holds his 6th place against Wembley.
Yeah, some nice racing between them, and well, JJ Rocks he's starting to claw back a bit of time on all-rounder. I'm not sure why, because well, all-rounder's got the newer tyres than JJ Rocks. As I thought possibly it's because he's trying to get the hammer down, but take it a bit cautiously as well, because you'll notice the gap between themselves and Cyril Rosberg has now gone up to 7 seconds. So obviously if Allrounder got another penalty, the lowest he would drop now would be 3rd place. Obviously he's in 3rd place anyway, because of his penalty at the moment, as JJ Rock's going to look to the inside, is he? On Allrounder, he's going to not overshoot. I thought he was going to do there, and well, he gets the traction down, and Allrounder's going to get the potential switchback. He doesn't, as he head down towards turn 6 and now turn 7 for Mercedes grandstand. Allrounder stays behind the Williams driver, but the more they start to battle, the more Hawks is getting away. But Hawks, he hasn't really been challenged this race by Allrounder, and he's just been allowed to get away, obviously because of that contact down at turn 5 earlier in the race. It's meant that that Hawks has managed to get out in the lead and well, pretty much stay there. So we're going to have 7 laps to go, I believe this is, as we've just crossed the line. Now 7 or 8 laps to go, as well, JJ Rock started to pull away actually from Allrounder, and yeah, it's quite surprising actually. No offence to the Williams driver, but going into the season, I'd have thought Allrounder would have been right up there in the championship, but instead he's been making these little mistakes and it's been costing him quite big time.
Absolutely, and as a result of this race, if we go off the standings, that would mean that Allrounder will be 20 points behind Hawks going into round 4 of the season, nearly the halfway point, which is quite something when you consider, I mean, just how well Hawks has been driving. In fairness, he has not put a foot wrong. The first few races this year, you wouldn't have said he's put a foot wrong.
I mean, obviously, I know he has upgraded from the TMX, from Thrustmaster to the TX, and I know from my personal experience back on F1 2017. I mean, obviously everybody else that track that they do all the time, and for me, it was Australia. So obviously the amount of times I restarted career mode, I became a bit of a quite quick around there. Somehow managed to win AOR in season 15 and F2, but that's another story. But I know from my personal experience, I actually gained half a second around there when I upgraded to the TX from the TMX, and I think this has had a bit of an impact on Hawks' pace, because he's been right up there in all leagues that they've been commentating on with him in it, because well, he's been doing so well recently and his pace has been immaculate and he's been on form, and he's not been putting a foot wrong, as you said, and it's these little things that add up to make one big championship.
Absolutely, I think I might have even covered that race that you won. Maybe wrong, might have done, may not have done. I feel like I might have remembered it, but still.
Possibly. I won two races this season, and I can proudly say I won a race with Flying Finn in it, but he got a puncture, and that was the Christmas Classic at Brazil. Well, yeah, there you go.
Ah, yeah.
So I think that could have been worse. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Potentially. There's been a fair few now. I've racked them up, let's say. Let's see. As I said with Hawks, yeah, he's absolutely just driving brilliantly to the limits of what he can possibly do. Not overdriving the car as well, and that's a crucial thing. Any good champion won't overdrive his car because they can overdrive it. You know, there are limits though, and obviously overdriving a car can obviously make mistakes in that sense. So I think there's plenty of prime examples of that. Sebastian Vettel being the most recent of that, I would have said. Just simply overdriving the car too much in some seasons, and you know that's where it can play detrimental effects. There's no disrespect to any of him as a driver, so I envy him absolutely, but you can.
Oh yeah, he's an amazing driver.
But that you have these momentary lapses, just concentration on occasion, and that's the one thing that separates someone winning a championship and not winning a championship is that balance of being able to push exactly when they need to, and just having that, as I say, the absolute balance. And once you get that, the raw speed and the consistency, then you will most likely go for to lead a championship and to potentially win one as well. So it was Zeus who's gone off down at. Actually, Hawks nearly went off at the final corner there. Actually got a wheel in the gravel on the exit of the final corner. That would have been interesting. Nonetheless, it looks like Rosberg is still holding off Dan as well for fourth place. But nothing really changing up the front.
We're just on board with all-rounder, and his fuel lights actually come on with 4 laps to go. It's only flashing yellow for now, but obviously something I'm noticing, it's got less ERS and obviously less fuel than JJ Rocks. He's actually managing to get away from all-rounder, and I think the Hawks have started to back off a little bit and not push too much. But obviously, like I mentioned previously with Senna and Monaco, if he backs off too much, then I'm not going to say it, but something. Well, it might not go his way. I'm not going to say the words exactly because, well, knowing my luck, I'll commentate his curse, and that's definitely something we don't want to be happening.
Absolutely. There's now 5 seconds the gap between himself and second place man. It probably brings a good question, a good time to ask who you think driver of the day should potentially be. I'm thinking, you know, if I'm going to put any bets on anyone to potentially get driver of the day, I'm looking at JJ because I think that is just.
Yeah.
There's no way. I never really expected that to happen, and Rand's got himself another penalty. But I did not expect the Williams to be that quick, this quick in this Grand Prix. He has really shown his true colours in this German Grand Prix, and this will give him a hell of a lot of confidence going forward.
Yeah, it will. Obviously, you mentioned all-rounder will be 20 points off Hawks. I assume that all-rounder will be still in second then, and that's a 20-point lead.
Oh, second in the championship. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So. A lot like the car's going a bit slower there, but it's possibly just my eyes when you're getting tired. I haven't worn my glasses in before lockdown, so it's possibly my eyes getting a bit weary. PWR Dan though, and Rosberg still going at it as just said it comes into the pits. We've got a bit of a battle into the hairpin there, turn 5 between Shadow and Langman. Obviously Shadow on the soft compound tyres. Best in juice getting a 5-second penalty, ignoring blue flags, I think that was. He's got Grumpy Lion and Crescito behind him. In fact, it can't be blue flags, can it? Because the car's ghost. Not like the yellow flags. I'm not sure where that came from. There's not many battles going on track. Hence the rambling. We've got to fill the time somehow. Next time, Shadow actually retired from the race somehow. I'm not sure what's going on there because, well, it doesn't look like he's actually hit a wall, does it? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure where he's gone off, to be honest. It's a bit of a weird one. No, he's gone
Yeah.
off at the drag strip, hasn't he? The final couple of corners there, so that's interesting. That's not a place you'd associate a car going off the racetrack, as Cressito found a way through Grumpy Lion into 6th place. He's gone. So now, if you just keep racing, you'll finish it in the points, and that's looking definitely on the cards here. And something that we've not picked up on is the fact that Rosberg will finish 3rd in this Grand Prix now. Just because of penalties. The round has accumulated means that Rosberg will finish at least
Rosberg,
3rd.
Rosberg hasn't got a
He
penalty.
hasn't got a penalty. No, not one. He's got warnings, but he hasn't got a penalty yet. So he will finish in the top 3 for Rosberg.
Well, that's going to be
which,
5th. How many passes has Dan got? Let's have a look. Where is he?
Yeah, he could be as low as 5th, yeah.
Hang on. Dan's got a penalty. So he looks like Orion will be 4th. Yeah, so...
Absolutely, as Dan is still trying to come at Rosberg as they head down towards the hairpin again. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to move down on that particular occasion. But Hawks is now, as we've said, he's rambling away with a victory here in Germany. JJ is just holding up around just a little bit now, as Ryan and Cressito are going at it again down at the hairpin. And this occasion, McLaren's got the better of the Red Bull. The Red Bull's trying to come at him round the outside there is Cressito, the Frenchman, and he can't get the move done on this occasion. Sits in behind for now. The Dutchman, as we begin the final lap of the German Grand Prix, now you've got to say it's been an absolute masterclass from Hawks, the master plan as it were for Hawks, and he's all come together in such a fashion that he will come through, you would feel, to win this Grand Prix. Really, really dominant display as Cressito and get close together. Lion's got a puncture on the last lap of this Grand Prix. He's got a puncture on the left-hand side tyre.
He might...
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Pits as here comes all-rounder into the hairpin, and he's got a move done on the Williams on this occasion, and JJ will not be able to come back in, you don't feel. The penalty though doesn't mean anything, as Rosberg's going wheel to wheel with Dan into the final on the final lap of this Grand Prix as well, and he's now got himself a penalty, so that might have just put him off the podium.
Yeah, possibly. Obviously Dan and Rosberg are battling for pure position now, and essentially battling over 3rd place. So obviously all around just got 9 seconds worth of penalties, and they need to be within. It is going to be tight. They need to be within 6 seconds of all-rounder, and I don't. Yeah, Hawks wins. I don't think it's gonna be all-rounder off the podium. He comes home in 2nd place, drops down to 3rd. We're gonna watch PWR Dan. He's 6.6 seconds off, and no, he doesn't. It was 7/10 off all-rounder, so he's, despite all-rounders, quite messy performance here, you could say. Obviously, all respect to all-rounder, it is quite a difficult track to not get penalties on, and yeah, it's a bit of a disappointing race for Allender, but although he's had a bit of a shocker, he's still managed to cling on to a podium. So it's not at all bad for him at all, because, I know I definitely would want to, as Bersinger's getting the fastest lap of the final lap of the race there. I know I definitely would want to, and let's get a podium in this race, whereas, some people are disappointed even when they get 2nd, which is, it says it all sometimes, doesn't it?
This is why when I'm always saying podium interviews, as everyone's watched me down the years, I've always said commiserations or congratulations for 2nd place. I've said both of them, because some people like the 2nd place and some people really don't like the 2nd place. The same goes to the person in 3rd, because everyone who finishes on the podium feels that they could have won the race. In fact, everyone who races in a race believes they can win a race, is why they do it. Yeah, anyway, Hawks has won the Grand Prix, and he extends his championship lead further. It's 20 points, I think it is now, between him and all-rounder, so a big ask for the German to come back and to fight us again over the course of the remainder of this season. But it'll be interesting, because Hawks, as we said, wins in Germany from Rocks, JJ Rocks in 2nd place, and one of the drives of so far the season, it's got to be said. 3rd place for all-rounder in the end. Dan misses out on a podium ever so slightly. If that battle hadn't have gone on, you feel that one of those two may have snatched the podium away from the German on home soil, but Rosberg finishes 5th. It's 6th for Cressito, 7th for Langman, who did have a good drive in the end. Just Send It finishes in 8th. Line finishes in 9th and was a lap down in the end, so was Bursting Zeus. And then a gaggle of non-finishers. Shadow, Adam Lee, Boostler, Strees, Effort, and KJ didn't even make it to turn 2 before he was crashed out of the German Grand Prix. But it was an interesting one, to say the least. Very, very interesting. Let's see what all these guys have to say for themselves. Oh, we got Hawks here, so let's just get this thing kicked off then. Winner of the German Grand Prix, round 3 of the season. If you're there, hopefully he's here, because I'll just dive straight in.
Yeah.
Yes, good, right, happy days. Well, congratulations on the victory. It was pretty commanding performance, wasn't it? You never really looked in danger at any point in that Grand Prix of possibly losing that race. It was a really, really good display. That's me saying that, but I must feel pretty happy with it.
I practice a lot on getting no pens again. Yeah, I got no pens. And then all round, I don't know what happened to him when he was behind me, lap 3 or something. I don't know. So then I pull away slowly from JJ, and yeah, nothing else really. It's quite a boring race, so yeah.
Yeah, quite. Sometimes the best races to win are the ones that are most boring, because you've still picked up the most points of anybody. But you've got to feel, championship lead now 20 points. The gap between you and all rounder in the championship, so it's a sizable margin. It's got to give you a fair bit of confidence going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, actually, got lucky in Belgium. That Streets got a 5-second penalty. Yeah, it's quite a nice feeling.
Clearly. Well, congratulations on the win and for the Kimmy-like answers. Appreciate that. And we move to second place, JJ. I said in commentary along with Ollie that I didn't expect you to finish second. I definitely didn't expect you to finish not anywhere near the podium, but I didn't expect you to finish quite that high, to be completely honest. It was a masterful drive. You had some really good pace at times, so you've got to be pretty amazed with second place, haven't you?
I'm shocked myself, to be honest. I had no idea I was going to be, that high. I thought I was just going to finish solid in the points, but I got a decent quali. P7 could have been a little bit better, but that was what it was. And then turn 1, I gained 1 position. I think it was Strees that span, and then there was the safety car. And then after the safety car, I think Shadow made contact with the car in front, and I just went down the inside of all 3 of them, straight up into P2. And then from then on, I just focused and just drove my heart all the way and ended up in P2.
Absolutely. It's a great result considering the calibre of drivers you're up against. I mean, you were, put it into perspective, really, you were fending off someone who's been an esports driver. So you've managed to pull off some sort of feat there. The man behind him, you're looking at Rosberg as well, who's got plenty of credential. It's an amazing result, and it's got to give you a lot of confidence going on to the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's given me a lot of confidence, to be honest. I haven't had a race like this in ages, so it's just a confidence booster in general, just for all my other league races. But yeah, absolutely. I'm just really pleased, to be honest.
Well, I said before we got onto the podium interviews, I always say congratulations or commiserations to second place. I don't think it's a commiserations you finished second today. I think it's a massive congratulations that you finished second today. Just well done for a great drive. And Ollie, your thoughts, any questions before we get this thing wrapped up?
No, you've hit the nail on the head there with that one, James. And JJ Rocks is definitely my driver of the day for today. Surprising us out of absolutely nowhere with the podium, and amazing performance. And yeah, nothing else to say really.
Absolutely. Well, the 2019 German Grand Prix gave us some shocks, and I said as we started the race, this is a track, obviously, we can expect some shocks at. And my God, did we have a bit of a shock here today with one particular podium finisher. But more than that, we had a good Grand Prix as well. Some incidents along the way, but it got to a point where, obviously, ultimately, the best man won in the end. Well, I hope you enjoyed the race. Hopefully you can join us again, same time, same place, next weekend for round 4 of the championship. I have no idea where it comes from, but be sure to join us then. But from now, from me, from Ollie, from everyone in the booth, bye for now.